Hey, this is Buck Dharma of Blue Oyster Cult, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Welcome to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster, Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. Today's show is brought to you by UppercutChops.com. Check out their tasty selection of all-natural, dry-aged USDA prime Wagyu steaks and chops. Wait till you taste their best-in-class New York steaks, the filet mignon, and of course the king of all, those gigantic and massive cowboy cut and tomahawk cut USDA prime Wagyu steaks. Best I've ever had, probably be the best you ever have as well. Check them out at UppercutChops.com. That's UppercutChops.com. Or give them a call and find out what's for dinner at 714-948-0100. 714-948-0100. Again, 714-948-0100 for UppercutChops.com. Yes! And welcome in, everybody listening in on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates from coast to coast, all of our independents on Pick Your Favorite Station and Pick Your Favorite Part of these United States of America. Everybody welcome in if you're watching on Comcast, Cox, Spectrum, Frontier, Oceanic, Time Warner, WOW Cable Television affiliates in select markets, as well as Hotel TV in about 500,000 rooms or so. And also everybody on Facebook, thanks for joining us on Chicago Food Favorites as well. Folks, if you don't know what that is, check out Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. It's a fun group. Post your favorite restaurants, your recipes. You don't even have to be in Chicagoland. You could be anywhere in all corners of the earth for all you flat earthers out there, if you know what I mean. And also, thanks for everybody on Apple, Amazon, Audible, Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, etc., and so forth. All right, listen, folks. We're going to start this off with a little bit of... Show me the money! Yeah, because it continues. And what I had said a year ago is actually happening. It's going to happen. And people are like, oh, you're out of your mind. There's no way that's going to happen. I said, of course, it would be the three-peat for the Kansas City Chiefs. And, folks, it has nothing to do with the better team. It has everything to do with what the money wants. Why do I say that? Over and over and over again. Over and over again, we keep seeing seemingly the games being compromised. Now, I can't say for certain because I'm not there. I'm not a part of that rodeo. But I can give you my opinion. And my opinion, just like the Magic 8 Ball says, signs point to yes. There is a whole lot of mischief seemingly going on in the National Football League. It seems to me that they're cheating in plain sight. And here we are. We're seeing more and more articles about this over and over again. I tell you what, the broadcasters are losing their minds, but they can't really say anything because why? The money's going to get funny for them. Basically, they'll end up getting canned if they say the wrong thing. I mean, no one's going to can me for doing this because I'm just saying what I say, and it's my opinion. And I'm entitled to my opinion, if you know what I mean. Well, think about this. Here's an article that was written by Jason Owens, a staff writer at Yahoo, and he even says, AFC Championship, Bills denied first down on controversial spot at critical juncture in the loss to the Chiefs. He goes on to say the Buffalo Bills gambled and lost on a critical fourth down play late in Sunday's AFC Championship game loss to Kansas City. The play involved a controversial spot that was upheld on replay review. Buffalo led by 1 point at the time of the actual play and went on to lose 32-29. But the bigger question is, did Josh Allen get to the line of gain here? Basically, did he make the first down? With Buffalo holding a 22-21 lead at 13:01 remaining in the fourth quarter, the Bills went for it on 4th and 1 at the Kansas City 41. They called a quarterback sneak for Josh Allen. The Chiefs stood up Allen near the line of scrimmage, but Allen appeared to gain just enough ground to reach the line to gain at the 40-yard line. sideline angles appeared to show that the ball just reached the 40-yard line, but a clear view of the ball was blocked on both angles that didn't provide a definitive view. And so we have a little sound clip here. I wonder if we can play this. And this is compliments of Rate the Refs on X. We want to make sure we credit everybody.
So, tucking it and now going, reaching for it. It's as close. He was looking from the other side where the football is. Right there. Does he get enough to get to that line? Just had to get to that line.
See, and then they say the previous play is under review. Folks, it was clear as the chemtrails in the sky that this was a first down. And it's embarrassing that it even got to a fourth down in the first place because the previous play showed the receiver extending over the first down line, so that fourth down should have never happened in the first place. I mean, this is really ridiculous. Officials ruled Allen short of the field, then reviewed the play on replay, and after review, referee Cleet Blakeman announced that the ruling on the field would stand and the Bills turned the ball over.
After review, the ruling on the field stands as called. It'll be first down, Kansas City.
I mean, you got to give, that's so close. It's whatever the call was, I don't think you could overturn it. Kansas City came in with a plan. Nobody could stop this. Here's the line. Does the ball cross that definitively?
Boy, were the fans upset. And honestly, it's not fair to what's going on for Josh Allen. And honestly, it's not fair to the rest of the league. And it sure seems to me that those refs were wearing that red with that white arrowhead with the KC on it, because this is what's been going on all season. The same thing, garbage in, garbage out. And then the article, of course, says, well, the Chiefs take advantage of the turnover en route to a win. And the Chiefs almost immediately cashed in on the turnover. You think? 5 plays later, Patrick Mahomes scrambled for a 10-yard touchdown run. He followed up with a successful 2-point conversion play to Justin Watson. And what's worse is that when that actual play happened, there was a penalty assessed against the Buffalo Bills after, I guess, when Mahomes was going across the goal line, he got hit by one of the defenders. Listen, you're a runner with the ball. You're no longer the quarterback. Now you are treated as a running back, a wide receiver, a tight end. Anybody with the ball is fair game. And he got hit like any other tackle. It wasn't anything bad. And then an assessment on a penalty put the ball half the distance to the goal line. Oh, yeah, that's right. And this is part of the issue. Now, and then a 2-point conversion was then executed. And that was just a big crock of you-know-what, because what happened was that alleged penalty for that alleged late hit or whatever the heck it was, which it's a regular football play, it somehow goes against Buffalo as well. I mean, listen, folks, this is embarrassing. Look, the Bills responded, with a 9-yard play, 70-yard touchdown of their own to tie the game at 29, but the Chiefs answered with a field goal, blah, blah, blah. The point is, over and over and over, they say, well, the Bills turned the ball over on downs on the next possession and all this other crap. Listen, there are things that go on during a series that the referees have everything to do with. And let's face it, folks, the cheapest guys on the field, if you're going to compromise a game, they are the referees. And next would be the kickers. Those are the cheapest players and, well, in this particular case, we'll call them players for Kansas City, on the field. And the whole thing is a steaming pile of nonsensical BS. Because why? The money wants it, folks. The money. This is all about getting that three-peat, and then it's the Swifties of the world and all that other crap. They get to revel in, they won another Super Bowl and all this other crap. But, folks, I got to tell you, once this Super Bowl fix, in my opinion, is over with, then it's going to be the end of the run for the Kansas City Chiefs, and it's going to be a new team because there will be nothing left for the Kansas City Chiefs to achieve. And it's not whether you like Patrick Mahomes or not, or Travis Kelce or not, or this one or that one. Look, I don't really care about the players. What I care about is fairness on the field. And the fairness on the field is not happening, and that in itself is a colossal disaster. Seriously, folks, it is a disaster. That's the only way to look at it. Okay, now that we got all of those out of the way, because, look, the whole thing is awkward as it stands. It's just not fair. And why should everybody else, all the other teams and all the other fans, I mean, look, we're going to see a Super Bowl we saw a couple of years ago. It's the same thing, same garbage, right? And let's face it, a couple of years ago, the line was 1.5, just like the opening line is 1.5. The over and under between Philadelphia and Kansas City was 48.5. This year it's 49.5. And the opening money line, Chiefs minus 124 in Super Bowl 57, Super Bowl 59, Chiefs minus 132. Now, the one thing you have, and that's a little bit different here, is you have an extra 20 or extra 2 cents. So you have minus 132, minus 124. So you're laying more if you're betting the Chiefs straight up. And there's basically a 20-cent differential, 132 to 112, plus 112. And the Eagles used to, back 2 years ago, they were plus 106. So that line, it's basically a 20-cent line versus an 18-cent line, which the only benefactors of that are the sports books, because we know Kansas City's going to win. And guess what? You people that are betting on Kansas City have to lay an extra 8 cents to win every dollar, right? And that's how it works. And every $8 to win an extra $1. So this whole thing is one gigantic steaming pile of fixed in my business, in my opinion. And guess what? You'll see it. Just wait a couple weeks. Back in a few minutes, folks.
Attention business owners, you and your customers are listening to this right now. Face it, every business needs customers, even yours. The Sports Circus is a primetime nationally syndicated program that's carried on ABC, NBC, CNBC, and Westwood One News affiliates, plus CBS, Fox, and NBC sports affiliates across North America, with coverage from Hawaii to New York. Also, the Sports Circus is available to the 180 million subscribers on iHeartRadio, and the Sports Circus gets about 4 million website visitors per month, which could click through your website and bring sales. The Sports Circus provides great content featuring celebrity guests from sports and entertainment to our audience every weekday, which your company could greatly benefit from by increasing your visibility, foot traffic, eyeballs to your website, and calls from potential customers. Call us right now at
714-948-0100. Again, 714-948-0100.
Or email us at info@thesportscircus.com. That's info@thesportscircus.com. Drive your sales today by advertising with the Sports Circus.
Could you use a little extra money right now? If you'd like to borrow up to $100,000 and get pre-approved in minutes, call the number we'll give you at the end of this commercial. Our lending partners have already loaned millions of dollars to individuals just like you, and we're ready to lend you up to $100,000 if you qualify. Even if your credit is not perfect, you could use the money to pay off high-interest credit cards, for home renovations, or consolidate existing debt. You can get flexible, easy-to-pay terms. The consultation to find out if you qualify is free. To find out if you qualify for our special financing program, call this toll-free number 24 hours a day. 800-335-1376. 800-335-1376. 800-335-1376. That's 800-335-1376. Important terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Loan amount, annual percentage rate, and term will vary depending on creditworthiness. Applying does not guarantee approval. Account approval is subject to verification and confirmation of your credit history and acceptance by a lender. If you choose to apply for a loan through us, a consumer report will be obtained to evaluate your creditworthiness in connection with your application for credit.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UpperCutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes, are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UpperCutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UpperCutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door. store without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average at best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at uppercutchops.com or call
714-948-0100, 714-948-0100, again, 714-948-0100.
or make your selection directly at uppercutchops.com.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm Louis Firestone. Now it's time to throw it back to Sal.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. This segment brought to you in part by our friends over at the College of Southern Nevada Athletics. Check them out at csncoyotes.com for upcoming games and events. That's csncoyotes.com for the College of Southern Nevada Athletics. All right. And welcome back to everybody listening in on our affiliates from coast to coast. Big hello to our friends over in Honolulu on CBS Sports 1500 KHKA. That's home of the Yankees, the 49ers, and the Alabama Crimson Tide. Welcome in to everybody else up and down the West Coast on Pick Your Favorite Affiliate or Independent. Through the Heartland over to Auburn, Alabama, WAUD. That's home of the Atlanta Braves. And over in Atlanta, WDJY 99.1 FM, plus all the others, as well as Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, Oceanic, Time Warner, Spectrum, WOW Cable Television affiliates in select markets, Hotel TV, plus everybody else on Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. Folks, make sure you check that out. Chicago Food Favorites and everybody else streaming on Apple, Amazon, Audible, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Pandora, etc. You can't get away from us, folks. We're everywhere, even the Mars rover. All right. Of course, it's not just football that's going on, but we do want to make a couple of comments real quick here. Besides, we've already exhausted the whole Kansas City Chiefs favorable officiating. And, you know, one writer, his name is Jay Busby, he says, well, right quarterback, wrong time. That's right. Bills, Allen, cursed to be playing in this era, right, because seemingly the money wants them, being Kansas City. And look, there are all kinds of articles out there, and then people talk about Aaron Rodgers' future with the New York Jets and so forth. I mean, look, what's going to happen with Aaron Rodgers, nobody knows. In the same way that what's going to happen with the Dallas Cowboys and their new coaching regime, which I think Jerry Jones got exactly what he wanted. Jerry got a group of guys, being a group of two, we'll say, in Schottenheimer, which last I checked, that Schottenheim family, they haven't won any Super Bowls or anything like that. And that goes back to Marty and beyond. So I don't believe that Jerry got the right guy. And then they take Eberflus, of course, as his defensive coordinator, which I'm still trying to figure that one out. But ultimately, it seems like Jerry got exactly what he wanted. The Chicago Bears got what they wanted in Ben Johnson. They've got an offensive guy. I guess the big question is, are they going to have a quarterback's coach that is going to teach Caleb Williams how to better manage his time in the pocket? That's really what I'm wondering. And if they're going to teach him how to do his reads a little bit faster, because, there's an interesting comparison. People say, well, Jameis Winston is a terrible quarterback. Well, look, Jameis Winston throws a lot of touchdown passes, but he throws just about an equal amount of interceptions. And so Jameis is trying to get rid of the ball, whereas Caleb Williams does the exact opposite. He doesn't want to throw an interception, so he takes a lot of sacks. I wouldn't say that are unnecessary instead of throwing the ball away. Now, Joe Burrow learned young to get rid of the ball. Now, Joe is in about his fourth year, just finishing up his fourth year in the league. And Joe Burrow learned as a freshman, if you will, in the NFL of what to do and what not to do. Now, Caleb still has to learn that stuff. And so Caleb Williams doesn't want to throw the interception, so he takes a lot of sacks. And some of those are coverage sacks, but of course he had a bad line in front of him. But maybe somebody will teach him in the Bears coaching staff, the new coaching regime, on just how to get rid of the ball so he doesn't get hit. He took more sacks than anybody else, averaging, I think, 4 sacks a game, something to that effect. And that can have a real toll on a quarterback. Let's face it, Troy Aikman had the same exact problem in his first year when the Dallas Cowboys went 1-15. And of course, what happened was, well, they built a big line in front of him. Jimmy Johnson got the guys he wanted to protect his quarterback. And so then they had Emmitt Smith shortly there, or right before that. And Emmitt Smith started gaining a lot of grounds, and he had an enormous line to hide behind. I mean, hell, you could have put German Shepherd back there, and they would have rushed for 30,000 yards. So Emmitt Smith had, 22,000 yards or something like that, and something like 20 years. I don't know, something to that effect anyway. But reality is, Emmitt Smith was just a sign of durability. He certainly wasn't the best running back the game has ever seen. And people say, well, Eric Dickerson has that record. Yeah, but Eric Dickerson averaged 131.5 yards per game in that record-setting season. However, a handful of years prior to that, Walter Payton, in his 1,800 and some odd yards, and he had less games, Walter Payton actually rushed for 132.5 yards. And that has never been broken since. And so they said, well, Saquon Barkley is going to break the record. Well, Saquon Barkley was only averaging 125 yards a game. And remember, Walter Payton had nothing in front of him. Nothing. He had the worst quarterback in the league at that point. And guess what? He still really set that rushing record, which is not to be beaten at this point, especially in the status of the league, because you think of the run-pass option. So that true running back position, there's no fullback position out there anymore. What you have is a fullback in the form of a tight end. And that's basically it. Then you have these wild card sets or wildcat sets and all this other crap. But ultimately, the game will not see another Walter Payton. The question is, are the Bears going to go and draft Ashton Jeanty, who should have won the Heisman Trophy Award over Travis Hunter? I mean, he led in all the rushing categories where Travis Hunter didn't lead in any categories. None. Zero. How he won the Heisman was a cat show because it was Deion's guy. It wasn't because he was the best qualified. He did play both sides, but when he comes into the league, he's not going to play both sides of the ball. They're going to have him play one side or the other, and likely he's going to be playing corner. And my best guess is if Deion decides to coach this year, Deion's going to coach him in the league to try to recreate himself. Now, that makes the most sense. So back to this whole Dallas Cowboys thing, did they do the right thing for themselves? No, I think Jerry did the right thing for himself in the media, but that's it. But Jerry is going to have another mediocre team. I don't see them going to the promised land anytime soon. I think they have cemented another 3 years of mediocrity, or until Deion decides he wants to coach in the NFL, and Deion wants to coach the Dallas Cowboys because that's the only spot that makes sense for Deion Sanders. He did win there, and it's the biggest stage in football, right? They say, oh, it's America's team. Whatever. The reality is it's the biggest stage in football because the media has created that, and Jerry Jones has fortified that. But other ongoings in the National Football League, I think we can pretty much stick a fork in that because it's done. Let's shift over into college basketball. In college basketball, look, Auburn still stays number one, followed by Duke. We're going to get the rankings in just a minute. Alabama coach Nate Oates has the team's full attention after Sears benching. Yes, it was a big benching, so let's face it, folks. Sears is their guy. This kid is something. And for that guy to be benched, I don't even know what the article says, but I'll tell you this much. Sears is one of those guys you want on your team. And they used to say back in the day when we had a Sears to go shopping. You know, Sears is where America shops, right? Hey, I went there. You know what I didn't like about Sears? Is the fact that I hated sitting there waiting for my mom to try on all the clothes in the building, seeming like she tried everything on in the building, but I had to sit there. But what I liked was that when you walked over through the lower level of Sears, the first floor, not the second floor, not the basement, they actually had where you can get fresh candies and popcorn and nuts and stuff like that, and you could smell it. So I always got something there to chew on, waiting for my mom to try her clothes on. Anyway, we think of Sears over in Alabama, though. And this kid is something special. So think about this. Legendary UCLA basketball coach John Wooden, who actually was paying players back in the day, as I understood from two of his former players. He is the first guy to deal with that whole cheating thing. Legendary coach John Wooden famously said that when it comes to motivating players, Show me the money! No, he didn't say that, but I just had to throw that in. But he said, look, the bench is the coach's best friend. Alabama's Nate Oates wasn't even a year old when Wooden retired in 1975, but some 50 years later, he took that lesson to heart in the most profound way imaginable. Recently, it's unclear what exactly Mark Sears did or didn't do to earn a second-half benching from Oates in their game against LSU. Yes, they did win the game against LSU, but let's face it, this much is crystal clear. When you sit one of the nation's elite point guards in a closely contested conference game, you grab your team's full attention immediately. Because if Oates will bench the team's senior leader and best player, he'll bench anyone at the time, and he doesn't give a damn as I see it. But let's face it, that's never a bad message to spend, now is it? Look, following the game, Oates declined to specify why he did it. It doesn't really matter. He said, quote, I'll just say this, and then I'm not going to talk further about this playing time stuff. We went with the guys in the second half who we thought gave us the best chance to win the game, and we won the game, and our defense was significantly better than the first half. And we haven't done that very often this year, close quote. So maybe it was a question of defense. Sears had 17 first half points, right? Pretty damn good. But he shot 0 for 5 from the floor. But Oates wasn't really concerned, but I think it could have been something about defense. And earlier this year, Sears was held scoreless in 21 minutes against Illinois, and Alabama not only overcame Sears' off night for a win, but it scored 100 points without him. So what are the messages you're trying to send? Hey, man, we don't need you. So you better straighten your you-know-what up because we don't give a damn because I will sit your ass on the bench and you will like every minute of it. Yes! Back here in a few minutes on the Circus with more college hoops. Don't go anywhere. I'm your ringmaster Sal of the Sports Circus, a primetime, nationally syndicated television, radio, sports, and entertainment show. The Sports Circus covers topics others are too scared to talk about. There's no other primetime show like it on here that'll punch you in the face and you'll beg for more. Join me, Hall of Famers, world champions, and all-star celebrity guests for chaos and controversy here on Libsyn and all podcast platforms, plus TheSportsCircus.com. Remember, folks, it's a circus and we prove it every day.
Hello, Americans. It's Uncle Sam here. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes to the IRS or state, don't worry. I've got important news that may help you negotiate a lower tax bill. In today's economy, the IRS has released a variety of new rules and is offering more flexible terms to help Americans looking to settle their IRS debt. If you apply today, we may be able to lift your wage garnishments and release a freeze on your bank assets or business. Our team of tax professionals can resolve your case and stop collection actions against you. Even if you've been audited or haven't filed a return in years, they can help. Call right now and find out if you qualify to settle your IRS debt for far less than what you owe. Pick up your phone right now and call us for a free $500 IRS tax review. Don't wait. Here's the number.
Call right now. 800-950-2049. 800-950-2049. 800-950-2049. For the last time, that's 800-950-2049.
Do a search on how to get out of credit card debt, and you'll find everything from crazy promises to ways you can try to do it yourself. Many of those ideas just don't work, and they leave you broker than you were. Here's some advice. Call our debt helpline. In a quick and free 5-minute conversation, our experts will listen to you and learn about how much credit card debt you have, what your goals are, and then show you the right solution to help you get out of credit card debt with one new simple, affordable payment. The credit card companies make available special programs to help if you're struggling. All it takes for you to finally get out of credit card debt is one quick, free phone call. So please call right now.
800-948-6817. 800-948-6817. 800-948-6817. That's 800-948-6817. Paid for by the Debt Helpline.
That's ridiculous.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
Hey everyone, Dave Jackson here, ESPN rules analyst on ESPN Hockey, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. Folks, make sure you check out TheSportsCircus.com for our upcoming guests, our prior guests, or recorded shows, which can be found on Apple, Amazon, Audible, Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, Deezer, Stitcher, you name it, we're there. Also, make sure you check out the store. Lots of great items at the Sports Circus store. There's a tab right across the top at TheSportsCircus.com, and you can get your hats, hoodies, t-shirts, sweatpants, travel mugs, coffee mugs, mouse pads, you name it, they're all there, pillows even. And of course, mention that Ringmaster Sal sent you for an extra 10% off of whatever it is that you get at the Sports Circus store. Yes! All right. If you have any questions on that, just go ahead and email us at info@thesportscircus.com. All right. Welcome back to everybody. You know who you are, TV, radio, streaming. Getting into college basketball, talk about those rankings, and I love this. Right there at the very bottom at number 25. Number 25, of course, they always get preceded with a nice chorus of boos. Because this clown, their coach, UConn's coach, he says, "Don't turn your back on me. I'm the best coach in college basketball." Shut up. Just shut up already. And just for that, Xavier, with a 76-72 win against UConn, drops those guys 6 slots all the way to number 25. That's right. You're looking up at everybody else, Jack. Number 24, Vanderbilt, comes in with a win on the road at Kentucky. Up next for them is Oklahoma, and they get a few days off. Moving into number 23, or better yet, I should say dropping down 7 slots to 23 is Ole Miss. Ole Miss getting a shellacking against Missouri. And Missouri comes into, well, let's face it, they come into Oxford, Mississippi, and they just put a number on them. Up next for Ole Miss is Texas. So they got a couple of days to relax, or better yet, to gather themselves and then take on the Longhorns. Number 22, Texas Tech remains unchanged despite their win at Oak State by 10. Up next for them is TCU. Louisville jumps up 4 slots to number 21 with their big win over SMU. That was a 25-point home victory. Up next for them is Wake Forest. Missouri, by their shellacking, of course, I wouldn't say shellacking. They just beat Ole Miss. It wasn't really a complete blowout, but it was a solid win. They jump up 2 to number 20. Up next for them is Miss State. Memphis goes up 5 slots to number 19 with their 23-point win at UAB. Up next for them is Tulane. Illinois drops 1 despite their win at Northwestern, 83-74 in Evanston. Up next for them is Nebraska, and that's on January 30th. Wisconsin jumps up 1 to number 17. They go to 16-4 overall, and they get a real nice win at Nebraska. That's a 28-point victory. Up next for them is Maryland. Oregon drops 1, despite the fact that they lost to Minnesota at home. They should have lost more than 1 slot, but who the hell knows what's going on with these rankings. Up next for them is UCLA. St. John's jumps up 5 slots. The Redmen, of course, I always wanted to call them the Big Red Redmen. I don't even know what they're called anymore. We'll just call them St. John's. St. John's, with their win at Xavier several days ago, they jump up 5, And that is a 79-71 win. Up next to them is Georgetown. Number 14, Miss State remains unchanged despite their win against South Carolina. Up next for them is Alabama. 13, Texas A&M stays unchanged despite their loss to Texas. It was a 1-point loss. Up next for them is Oklahoma, and that's going to be a game later today. Kentucky drops 3 slots, 14-5 overall to number 12. They lost to Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt is a good squad, folks. Listen, those guys are no joke. It doesn't matter what their record is. Those guys know how to play basketball, and they were even better in football this year. Up next for Kentucky is at Tennessee. That'd be a tough game over at Rocky Top. Kansas goes up 1 to number 11 with their loss at Houston. 92-86. Up next for them is Central Florida. Purdue jumps up 1 slot with their complete destruction of Michigan at Chrysler. 91-64. Yes! Boiler up. Up next for them is Indiana, the hated Indiana Hoosiers. That ought to be a good one. That's on Friday the 31st. Marquette jumps up 1 to number 9 with their win at Villanova. That was a 13-point win on the road, a very good Villanova team. Up next for them is Butler. Tennessee drops 2. They lost to Auburn in the closing seconds of the game, 53-51, a defensive struggle. Up next for them is Kentucky. Michigan State up 1 to number 7, 81-74 over Rutgers at home. Up next for them is Minnesota. Houston jumps up 1 slot with their win against Kansas, 92-86, we mentioned earlier. Up next for them is West Virginia. The Florida Gators remain unchanged at number 5. Up next for them is Tennessee. Alabama unchanged at number 4. And up next for them is Mississippi State. That's going to be on Wednesday. Iowa State remains number 3 despite their 76-61 win against Arizona State. Up next for them is Arizona. And the Duke Blue Devils. Of course, they always get a round of applause for us. Yes! Duke with a nice 7-point win against Wake Forest. Up next for them is later today against NC State and Auburn, the number 1 ranked Auburn Tigers. Oh, everybody over there on WAUD, you got something to root for over there. All right. You know, it's funny. Auburn is like Purdue at this point. Auburn has to struggle through football just to get to basketball. And Auburn's ranked number 1. They're a very good squad. A really tough win at Tennessee. 53-51, I mentioned earlier. Next up for them is a game Wednesday against LSU, and that's going to be over in Baton Rouge. And, you know, you look at these standings for all these different conferences, and you say, well, all right, well, let's go from the very top. Let's do it in alphabetical. The American East has Bryant in first place at 12-9, 6-0 in the conference, though. American has Memphis and the Mean Green of North Texas. Gotta like that. What a great name. The Mean Green of North Texas. They're both 6-1. Memphis 16-4 overall, ranked number 19th, and the Mean Green are unranked. And the UAB Blazers, who just played a very good game, they just, man, those guys are just, they don't have the NIL money, and that's what the whole thing comes down to. Payoff, payoff, payoff. Show me the money! All right, the Atlantic 10 has Virginia Commonwealth in front at 6-1, tied with George Mason, the Patriots, and they're both at 16-4, 15-5. Those are 2 teams atop the A10 with the St. Louis Billikens right behind them at 5-2. The Dayton Flyers, for everybody over there in Ohio land and Northern Kentucky, yes, they're at 4-3 in the conference, 14-6 overall. The Atlantic Coast, the ACC, has Duke showing the way. Yes! The 9-0 Blue Devils, with arguably the best player in the country, I believe that Cooper Flagg will be the number 1 pick. This kid is legit. Man, he is good. A high-flying kid that can do it all. Inside, outside game. Throw it down when you need him to. Good defender. There's very little doubt that Cooper Flagg will be the number 1 overall pick. Clemson right behind Duke at 9-1. They do have the 1 loss in conference play. Louisville at 8-1, and then the rest of the gang. But, of course, Duke is 17-2 and ranked number 2 in the nation. The Atlantic Sun has Jacksonville out in front at 7-1, ahead of Lipscomb at 6-2, and North Alabama, the Lions are 6-2, and the Florida Gulf Coast Eagles are also at 6-2. But Jacksonville is the only team that really stands a chance to make the tournament, whether they win or not, in their conference in the Atlantic Sun. Big 12 is led the way by the Houston Cougars, ranked number 6, 8-0, 16-3 overall. Iowa State right behind them in conference play, but ahead of them in standings in the AP rankings. Iowa State being ranked number 3 and Houston number 6. And it's partly because there's one loss in between them. Arizona also tied with Iowa State, second place in the Big 12 at 7-1. The Big East is led by Marquette. Man, Marquette is good again. Man, those guys are good every year. It sure seems like it. 8-1, tied with St. John's, 8-1 as well. Both teams are 17-3. Both teams are ranked. Creighton Blue Jays right behind them. A very good Creighton team at 7-2 as well. And DePaul in the sewer yet again in the Big East. DePaul just really needs to drop out of there and go to some smaller division, really. The Big Sky is led by Northern Colorado, 7-1, 15-6 overall. The Big South, NC Asheville, 6-1, 15-6 overall. Big Ten has Michigan State atop 8-0, Purdue at 8-2, Michigan State 17-2 overall, Purdue 16-5 overall. It's going to be a dogfight all the way through the Big Ten rest of the season. Big West, UC Irvine, the Anteaters, the Aardvarks, 8-1, showing the way, 18-3 overall. In the Coastal Athletic, it's William and Mary, the Tribe, 7-1, 13-8 overall. Over in Conference USA, it's UTEP 5-2, tied with Middle Tennessee and Jacksonville State, all 5-2. The Horizon League has Cleveland State. Who would ever thunk that? Not me. The Vikings 10-1. The Ivy League has Yale 4-0 on top. The Metro has Marist, Quinnipiac, and Merrimack, all 8-1. The Mid-American is the Akron Zips. How do you like that? The Zips at 7-0. They're leading the Mid-American. The Mid-East, Norfolk State, Missouri Valley, Bradley Braves on top of Drake, 9-1 versus 8-2. It's going to be a dogfight there. The Mountain West, New Mexico, 9-1. The Northeast Conference, LIU, the Long Island Sharks, 6-2, 10-13 overall. Ohio Valley, Morehead State, Patriot League, American Eagle, and of course Colgate tied at 6-2. And in the Southeast Conference is Auburn showing the way above Alabama. Southern Conference, Sanford, Southland, McNeese, Southwest Conference, and that is Southern and the Summit, Omaha. And back in a few minutes here on the Sports Circus. Don't go anywhere.
Can your IRA stand up to the next financial crisis that our top economists are saying is at our doorsteps? By allocating a percentage of your IRA into physical gold and silver with a tax-free rollover, you can diversify and safeguard your holdings from turbulent markets and economic downturns by putting your IRA back on the gold standard. Find out how to safeguard your assets with a tax-free rollover with a Genesis Gold IRA, the only IRA that can hold physical precious metals. Call now for your free gold and silver report. Protect your IRA today with one simple phone call and learn how to qualify for up to $10,000 in free silver. Call Genesis Gold Group, empowering faith-driven stewardship. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. That's 800-932-5517.
If you served in the Marine Corps, by now you know about the contaminated water problem at Camp Lejeune. If you were stationed or worked at Camp Lejeune from 1953 to 1987, you probably have a lot of questions. We have some answers. You could be entitled to compensation. Billions of dollars are being allocated to pay for damages to anyone stationed at Camp Lejeune during that time. Unfortunately, it appears that officials may have known the contaminated water problem existed and did little to protect their men. The Semper Fi Code was not honored. If you or someone in your family has developed a serious illness, including various forms of cancer, call this Camp Lejeune legal support line right now. You can't turn back the clock and change what happened, but you can certainly call right now and learn your rights as a Marine. Here's the number.
Call 800-335-7196. 800-335-7196. That's 800-335-7196.
Do a search on how to get out of credit card debt, and you'll find everything from crazy promises to ways you can try to do it yourself. Many of those ideas just don't work, and they leave you broker than you were. Here's some advice. Call our debt helpline. In a quick and free 5-minute conversation, our experts will listen to you and learn about how much credit card debt you have, what your goals are, and then show you the right solution to help you get out of credit card debt with one new simple, affordable payment. The credit card companies make available special programs to help if you're struggling. All it takes for you to finally get out of credit card debt is one quick, free phone call. So please call right now.
800-948-6817. 800-948-6817. 800-948-6817. That's 800-948-6817. Paid for by the Debt Helpline.
Hey everybody, this is Brian Urlacher. Welcome back to the Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster, Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. A big welcome back to everybody listening in on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates and independents from coast to coast. Also, everybody watching on Comcast, Cox, Spectrum, Frontier, Oceanic, Time Warner, and WOW Cable Television affiliates in select markets. Thanks for joining us also on Hotel Television in about 500,000 rooms or so. And everybody also on Chicago Food Favorites. Make sure you check that out on Facebook, Chicago Food Favorites. It is a fun group where you could post your favorite recipes, your favorite restaurants, your likes, your dislikes, whatever the heck it is. Doesn't matter where you're at, and check it out, folks. There's all kinds of great food featured on there. Even our friends over at 1079 West Taylor Street in Chicago's Little Italy. That's Al's #1 Italian beef. 1079 West Taylor Street in Chicago's Little Italy. Folks, if you don't know what Italian beef is, you better check it out. Go to alsbeef.com. That's alsbeef.com and read about it. They are the originators of the Italian beef sandwich, which is an institution in Chicagoland and a very, very, very popular sandwich that absolutely blows away that nonsensical Phillies cheesesteak sandwich, if you know what I mean. Anyway, check it out, folks. alsbeef.com, and those are our friends, and tell them the circus sent you. All right, continue on with college basketball. Looking at the odds to win the national title. Look, we already talked about the football odds and whatnot in the first segment, and we already know that Kansas City is going to get their, in my opinion, nonetheless, that Kansas City is going to get their three-peat. That was set last year. So they'll be done after that. It's going to be Buffalo's time or whoever. You'll probably see Buffalo and Detroit in there and something like that. I don't know. But in college basketball, we have a constant. The constant is the Duke Blue Devils, yes! And those guys are back leading and showing the way for the national championship odds-on favorite. And at the MGM, they are a plus 450, put up 100 to win $450. At Caesars Palace, you get a better price at, they're getting 5-1 over there. Put up 100 to win 500. Bally's, you're only getting plus 430. So the place to bet that one, of course, would be at Caesars Palace. Now, for all you Auburn fans, for the #1 ranked Auburn Tigers, we'll give you guys a nice round of applause. Best place to get your best odds at the major casinos is going to be Bally's. They're a plus 500. There's that 5-1 again, and you'll get the same price at 4.5-1 at Caesars and MGM. Now, moving down the trough here, it's Houston at a lofty plus 900. And look, here's the funny thing, folks. When you look at the NCAA basketball tournament, I mean, truly, any team could win this. It's a lot different than football. Football is a very different dynamic. There's a lot of money flowing, a lot of big TV contracts with particular conferences. But in the NCAA basketball world, the small school can win. Now, we've seen this recently. Think back to the Final Four just a few years ago. You had Loyola of Chicago. Yes! At the law school there, folks. Yes. So we root for those guys. But Loyola Chicago, a small school in a small conference, find themselves in the Final Four. And they played very well, too, by the way. But you don't see that in football. You just won't see that because we have the FCS and then the FBS, which is a bunch of BS in the first place, if you know what I mean. But nonetheless, in college basketball, even the small schools will find their way up the rankings. But here, going down this line for the odds to win the national title, Houston is about 9-1, 10-1 at Caesars Palace. Iowa State, #3 ranked Iowa State Cyclones, are 12-1. Alabama is at 13 15 to 1 or 14 to 1 at Bally's, by the way. The Florida Gators are at 17 to 1 at Bally's. The Tennessee Volunteers, there's a pretty good bet right there. A good defensive squad. They're at 18 to 1 at Caesars Palace. That's the biggest price you can get on them. Kentucky, for all you that like Big Blue, you guys are at 30 to 1 at Caesars, and it's only 20 to 1 at the Bally's. Imagine that. Kansas, the other blue squad, those guys are at 18 to 1. Imagine this. So Kentucky sits above Kansas despite the fact that they have a ranking differential and despite the fact that Kansas is a better favorite in this, because when you look at it, you say, well, Caesars Palace has them at 18 to 1. The money knows all. Kentucky is at 30 to 1 while Kansas is 18 to 1. Figure that one out. Michigan State is a 30 to 1 shot to win it all. Illinois at 35 to 1. 40 to 1 if you're betting at Bally's. And Illinois is a pretty good defensive squad. Don't look past them. Gonzaga, the perennial tournament team, those guys are at 40 to 1 and 35 to 1 largely in the casinos. Texas Tech, the Red Raiders, are at 50 to 1. Marquette, a very good Marquette team who is ranked number 9, is at a solid 40 to 1. I wouldn't say across the board, but those guys are at 40 to 1 in the places that matter. Texas A&M, 60 to 1. And here's the one I love the most. UConn is at, 55 to 1. That's right, 55 to 1. Oh, that's the best coach in college basketball. Right ahead of Michigan. And here's the funny part about that. Michigan shares the same odds, but Michigan is a better price in most of the places across the board, yet they're right behind them. Arizona at 50 to 1. Purdue, a lofty 50 to 1 as well, 40 to 1 at Caesars Palace. St. John's, the Red Men, or St. John's Red, I guess if that's what they're called now, are 60 to 1. Mississippi State, 80 to 1. Georgia, 250 to 1. Louisville, 150 to 1. The Memphis Tigers, 250 to 1. And the Creighton Blue Jays, I don't even understand this. This is worth putting $10 on it because they are 100 to 1. Think about that. You put $10 on that, those guys win. You win $1,000. Show me the money! Just for your $10. And that seems like a winner. Hell, I think I'm going to bet that one. You know, we can look at all the odds all the way around. Now, the opening odds I don't really care about at this point. But if you look at the odds as you cover the balance of these, and you have mostly Big Ten and SEC schools, and there are some Big 12s in there. You don't get a small school until you hit St. Mary's at 300 to 1. St. Mary's, a good squad year in and year out. Those guys can beat anybody. You never know what's going to happen with them. San Diego State, 500 to 1. I can't believe Villanova is at 750 to 1. That's a crazy number. And as we move on down the trough, and one of my favorites here, seeing it, Ohio State at 200 to 1, if you know what I mean. Those guys. And Virginia Commonwealth actually shares the same number as them. Indiana's way down there, which makes no sense. But when you look at some of these squads, you say, well, you know, why is Notre Dame 2,000 to 1? I mean, that is a huge, huge price. They're not going to really do anything, but why are they at 2,000 or 3,000 to 1 at another place? That, to me, it goes against the idea that anybody can win the national title. Because if you look at who's around them, SMU's around them, Georgia Tech is around them, even Northwestern's around them, a good defensive team. Even New Mexico is leading the Mountain West, is just a couple slots below them. They share similar odds. Actually, they have better odds to win than Notre Dame. So when you look at these rankings, you scratch your head and say, well, I don't really get it. In the same light that I don't get why in the world, when you think about the whole statue business. Look, I love Mark Burley, and I love the Chicago White Sox shifting into baseball. White Sox are going to put a statue of Mark Burley in front of their stadium, and I think that's great. And he's pitched a couple of no-hitters. He had a perfect game and a no-hitter, and I think that's great. He did win a World Series. But does that constitute getting a statue in front of the stadium? And I live and die with my White Sox, but I'm sorry, folks. You're really stretching there because there are other guys that deserve statues in front of that place, maybe ahead of Mark Burley. And I just scratch my head and say, well, what about all the others? Think about that. What about Joe Jackson? What about shoeless Joe Jackson? Now, Joe got robbed from the Cooperstown trip because he was the one guy that wasn't fixing the games against the Cincinnati Redlegs back in the day. Joe Jackson deserves a statue in front of the baseball stadium. But they say, well, Joe Jackson did not win in this stadium. He won in the old stadium. Okay, if that is the case, but he's still a historic player in the White Sox uniform. So why wouldn't you do that? That doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And look, I'm all for Mark Burley getting something special. And, his teammates, Contreras and Freddie Garcia and Hall of Famer Harold Baines, of course, they were all on stage when the announcement was made and all that other stuff. But, look, it's great to see the guys, but I don't know. I think there are other players that seems to make some kind of a difference. And I don't know. I scratched my head with some of this. How about this? How about Ryan Presley waives his no-trade clause with the Houston Astros to join the Cubs? How do you like that? This guy. And the Cubs are finalizing a trade for Ryan Presley, adding a right-hander to the bullpen, which they desperately need. And Presley has agreed to waive his no-trade clause, according to a person familiar with the situation. And there is an agreement in place between the teams pending a review of medical records. Presley had the right to block the deal because of his 12 years in the major leagues and 6+ with the Astros. He had a 3.49 ERA in 59 games last year while serving as the setup guy for Josh Hader. Remember, the year before, Presley was the guy. Until Hader showed up, it was Presley that was the closer. I only know this because I had him on, my fantasy baseball team. And, of course, the Cubs did acquire their superstar outfielder from Houston, Kyle Tucker, in a multi-year deal, and that's great for Kyle. Kyle's a great player. Kyle's one of those guys. He's in the top 10 in players in the league. The problem is they got nobody to hit behind Kyle Tucker in the same light that the New York Metropolitans have a problem with nobody to hit behind Juan Soto. So Juan Soto will turn to the Juan Soto that we know. Remember, he had Aaron Judge protecting him last year. He still only hit 41 home runs. He only stole, 7 bases, hit about 290, thereabouts, 289, 290, whatever. But Juan Soto still, there's still that problem over with the New York Metropolitans. They still don't have a deal set. And you look at a guy that's a better replacement from the batting standpoint, maybe not as many home runs, it would be Alex Bregman. From where? From the Houston Astros. His wins above replacement are double of what Pete Alonso is. And let's face it, Alex Bregman has a gold glove. This guy has a golden glove. This guy is good on the field, and the guy knows how to hit in the clutch. And I would say, look, Pete Alonso hits titanic home runs, but he doesn't hit for average either, where Bregman will hit for average. So actually, I would imagine that the Mets are better off signing Alex Bregman if the Cubs don't get a hold of him first, because the Cubs may end up being the Houston Astros North and taking over some more of their players. That makes the most sense to me. And if you look at the number side of it, look at Pete Alonso, $125 million is probably what it's going to take. And I don't know, it looks to me like it's going to take, or no, better yet, $25 million, and Alex Bregman is about the same price. So why wouldn't you take Alex Bregman when it looks like the allotment is going to be the same exact number and you have a better position player in Alex Bregman? All right, folks, that's going to do it for the circus today. I'm your ringmaster Sal. We'll pick up on baseball tomorrow. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you in about 23 hours right here on your favorite station. Until then, so long, everyone.
Can your IRA stand up to the next financial crisis that our top economists are saying is at our doorsteps? By allocating a percentage of your IRA into physical gold and silver with a tax-free rollover, you can diversify and safeguard your holdings from turbulent markets and economic downturns by putting your IRA back on the gold standard. Find out how to safeguard your assets with a tax-free rollover with a Genesis Gold IRA. The only IRA that can hold physical precious metals. Call now for your free gold and silver report. Protect your IRA today with one simple phone call and learn how to qualify for up to $10,000 in free silver. Call Genesis Gold Group, empowering faith-driven stewardship. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. That's 800-932-5517.